My name is Adam Freed. I'm the principal for sustainability at Bloomberg Associates. We're a pro bono consulting firm that works with cities around the world. Yeah, New York City, like many cities around the world, faces a number of significant climate challenges. First, there's the need to decarbonize our buildings and really get rid of fossil fuels that power and heat our buildings so that we can reduce the impacts of climate change going forward. In New York, in particular, we also face climate risks that come from intense rainfall, where we're getting, 1, 2, 3 inches of rain in an hour, and those can completely overwhelm our system. And then the dual risk on the flip side of intense heat that can cause significant deaths, economic interruptions, and other impacts throughout the city. And then I think the third piece I'd say that is a major challenge for New York, and as I said, cities around the world, is how do we fund those large scale projects that are needed to come in and support the decarbonization and adaptation of our cities. In New York, we had a couple of examples with congestion pricing that was supposed to be enacted that would have provided us with a lot of funding to expand our mass transit system and improve air quality. So finding ways to do those big ideas and to make sure that they can get implemented in cities. Yeah, in many ways, cities are functioning the way they were designed to do so. And you look at New York and London, where you're sitting, are both prime examples. They were built for fewer people. They were built for less water and impervious areas, and they were built for a completely different environmental baseline. So, as the climate has been changing, we face more of the intense, more frequent rainstorms for a city. In London's case, the source system was built and over-engineered for 4 million people at a time that London only had about 2.5 million people. You now have over 8 million people there. And you have more impervious area, which means that there's less water being integrated and absorbed into the soil. It just wasn't designed to handle the volume and intensity of the water that comes with the rainstorm. In New York, for every inch of rain we get, it's 1 billion gallons of stormwater that needs to be managed and treated and gotten off of our streets and out of our basements and into our waterways. That's just an enormous challenge. So finding ways to, upgrade our infrastructure, find alternatives so it doesn't just have to go into the source system, and think towards the future, because our rainstorms are only going to become more frequent and more intense. And then we have sea level rise as well. These are just enormous challenges that we weren't designed to manage. I think a sustainable city in many ways looks like the best parts of cities that we have today, and we're already seeing that. So places like New York, we have high performance buildings with electric heat and really meant to operate in the environment in which they're being built. More sustainable modes of transportation and clean buses, a robust public transit and subway system, a lot of bike lanes, ferry systems so that people can get around using our riverways. Very attractive and safe pedestrian alternatives are really important and help encourage more sustainable modes of transportation. Dense cities where people are living in close proximity, not only to each other, but to the commercial activities that they need, retail, grocery stores, entertainment, so that they don't have to rely on driving. And I think one of the things that really gets exciting as well, and you're seeing in the leading cities, is shared infrastructure, where you're seeing, schoolyards that may be used by children between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. opened up to the community on weekends and in evenings to increase recreation access and playgrounds, thinking about using those assets for stormwater management to capture water, thinking about multimodal roadways that aren't designed solely for cars, but also for people and for recreation and for stormwater management, for cafes and retail activities. And then I think a really primary example of what a sustainable city looks like and where it also intersects with quality of life is better integration of nature. So in New York, we focused on planting 1 million trees throughout the city. A number of those were in street trees that you could have those within communities, thinking about nature for waterways and reconnecting people to the waterways. New York City has 520 miles of coastline, the most of any major city in the US, including 14 miles of beaches. How do we make sure people can access those? How do we make sure that we're investing in nature that can provide the resources for coastal protection, for water quality improvements, to help manage rainfall, to help cool the city, to help improve air quality? Those are all the things that really can help not only make a sustainable city, but one that people want to live in. No, I'm a proud New Yorker, so I think there are a lot of ways that we're leading. There are certainly cities that are leading in some areas. Few are leading in all of them. Singapore is regularly thought of just with the level of investment and I think the forward-looking design that they have. A number of the Scandinavian cities, Helsinki and Copenhagen, have really done a terrific job at accelerating the decarbonization of their buildings and their heating systems, thinking about the quality of design to encourage dense living with adequate green spaces, and then really leading on sustainable modes of transportation and thinking about a multimodal city that prioritizes bikes and pedestrians. Amsterdam has also done a terrific job at increasing in Rotterdam the biking culture there and making it safe and accessible for people to bike, as well as thinking about water management and how do they prevent major floods, how do they more thoughtfully use their resources and integrate green stormwater infrastructure into the city. In many ways, it's a necessity that they do that, given the fact that they're 15 feet or more below sea level. But I think New York has really been doing a great job and continuing to lead the way when it comes to U.S. cities, thinking about the progressive policies like the building performance standards that are requiring buildings to decrease the amount of carbon that they produce and that they generate within their operations, and things that could continue to push the edge. Urban farming is a cool tool. I think one of the things in cities' repertoire when they think about how to increase the quality of life, livability, and sustainability of the cities, really three primary ways where I think that comes to play. One, it helps increase your green space. And a greener city is a cooler city. It's a city that can have better air quality, better stormwater management. It can help reduce the carbon footprint of our food systems. And that is when you think about what we consume, food is one of the largest sources of our carbon emissions. The closer it is to the city, the less transportation emissions that are associated with it. When you think about hydroponic farming or other very sustainable ways of doing intense farming in small areas, that further reduces the carbon footprint of what we eat. And then I think it plays a really critical role in engagement and education, particularly with young people, but it could be with people of all ages and adults around climate issues. And, we can't win the battle that we're facing. We can't get people to be a part of the climate movement only talking about climate. There are a whole host of issues that they care about. Urban agriculture, urban farming, using the science behind it, integrated into classrooms is a tremendous way of increasing the people who see themselves as climate champions. And then setting aside all of the climate and sustainability benefits of it, it also promotes healthier lifestyles and living. So it just makes people healthier and live longer. There was a recent survey done last year that found 84% of youth were worried about climate change, and 60% of young people said that government wasn't doing enough to solve for it. So in many ways, they're aware of the issue and they're looking for ways to stay engaged and to be engaged and to provide that leadership where it may not be or where they feel it's not moving fast enough. One of the things I'm excited about, and this is something of Bloomberg Philanthropies that we launched last year, was a youth climate action fund. It's actually funding 100 cities and mayors around the world to engage youth 15 to 24 to start efforts to really accelerate the climate transition and climate action in those cities. So 100 cities across 38 countries. We're now entering the second year of the Climate Fund. And I think it really is helping cities understand how they can engage and share leadership and empower youth to take a larger role in this. And those are cities from Accra to Zanzibar. Within the New York area, it's Hastings on Hudson, it's Hoboken, it's in the Hudson Valley, Paterson, New Jersey, White Plains, New York. So we're seeing a variety of cities, large and small, from different geographies, where the mayors raised their hand and wanted to get involved in that. So that's really exciting. And then I think we've seen a lot of grassroots movements. We saw the Plastic Free July campaign that's now in 190 countries, that was started by children who said we want to end the use of single-use plastics. Obviously, Fridays for the Future has gotten a lot of attention. There are more than 14 million people who've taken part in protests and other activist movements related to that around the world. And that can really help push national and local leadership within the political sphere to take more aggressive action. And I think that's really, really important. And in New York, I think one of my favorite activities that I've seen and been a part of under the Bloomberg administration as part of Plan YC, our sustainability plan, we launched a program that I alluded to earlier, schoolyards to playgrounds. So we are partnering with schools that had these concrete areas that were used during recess and to maybe gather students before and after school, but otherwise were locked and not available to the public. With very minor capital improvements, we could turn them into vibrant playgrounds. And we worked with the students within the schools to design those playgrounds. So they would come up with the drawings for it. They choose what equipment they wanted to do. We incorporated stormwater management. We had science lessons around why you needed more greenery and why you needed impervious areas to absorb water within urban areas. And that was really exciting to see the ownership and the excitement the students brought to that effort, to thinking about how they can design their community, and then the pride they felt and the empowerment that they took away with that by being part of the climate solution. And for me, the excitement is not just what happened in their schoolyard, but how they're going to take that into their lives beyond school and think about where they could be part of that change. There's the individual choices that they make themselves. How are they engaging with the consumer goods that they're purchasing? Are they using their purchasing power for that? How are they engaging with their friends and family? I think having the climate conversation is a very important thing to do. And then how are they, again, engaging with the world? And there are tons of actions they can take. I mean, where are they living? Is it at their home? And can they talk to their parents about being more energy efficient, thinking about the waste streams that they have there? Again, what they're purchasing. Are they composting? If they're in a building, what is the building management doing? What is the board doing? If they're in their school, what is the school leadership doing? Are they, all those small steps add up to big strides when they take that collective action. And then making sure that that's being thought of in the broader context within their community as well, and taking the action. Are there ways that they can green their community with planting trees, adopting areas, picking up litter? All those little things may seem small, but add up and are really important starts on the journey that lead to that bigger collective action. It ultimately comes down to political leadership. So I think you alluded to, if they can't vote, staying engaged, make sure their voices are heard, make sure they're influencing other people's votes as well, and putting pressure wherever that leadership may align, whether it's in the school administration, whether it's in a community organization that they're a part of, whether even if they're not able to vote, showing up at community meetings and advocating for the change they want to see is absolutely critically important. And those are the skill sets, those are the habits that are going to lead to a much more engaged adulthood as well. New York faces significant climate risks. As I said earlier, we are a coastal city, 520 miles of coastline. We've already witnessed and experienced about a foot of sea level rise over the past century, and we're projected by the end of this century, by 2100, to have up to 5 feet 4 inches of additional sea level rise. We can't hold that back. That is occurring. That is locked in with our emissions. With that 520 miles of coastline, though, there's a variety of different options. There's no one size fits all solution for any of the climate risks that we face. So there are significant projects, over $1 billion investment on the east side of Lower Manhattan, where I live, that is creating 5 new recreation areas. It's upgrading the East River Park. It's having new bikeways and pathways, and it's going to protect 110,000 residents from flooding. So it's a park that is designed to flood, but block the water from crossing the FDR, which is a major highway that rings Manhattan, and then going into everything behind that. We have another project over $170 million off the coast of Staten Island, where a number of people were killed during Superstorm Sandy. It's creating living breakwaters. These are, about 1,000 to 2,000 feet off of the shore. They're concrete, new kind of breakwaters that are being created in the water and seeded with oysters and other marine life as partnership with the Billion Oysters Project. And this provides a tremendous opportunity to improve water quality, to reduce the waves that come in when major storms happen, and it's going to protect residents in Staten Island and beach renourishment. So also increase recreational access to the waterways. And that's being done in partnership with local schools and community groups so that youth and others can come out and monitor their health and help take care of those living breakwaters. So I think there are a lot of solutions that are being deployed. The one thing we know is we cannot prevent the water from coming. What you can try to do is redirect it and make sure that you're protected from it. And cities throughout our history have been, designed and built on waterways, for trade. We were, coastal access or the confluence of rivers so that you can have more access and more movement. What we need to do is ensure that we're designing and aware of the risks that we face so that we can mitigate them as much as possible. And I think New York is taking great strides in doing that. We're seeing other cities. You're in London, where you have the Thames Tideway barrier that's providing protection, and now they're recognizing the need to upgrade that. So cities that are recognizing the risks that they have and taking proactive actions to reduce it and minimize it as much as possible, I think are going to be the ones that are the most economically competitive and better protecting residents.